I'm not sure if you guys saw this. I thought it was a really cute moment, and I'd like to know if it's actually accurate or not. The Hungarian Grand Prix allowed for the first children's Grand Prix broadcast. So there was young journalists milling about, getting to talk to different drivers, team principals. I thought it was extremely wholesome and very, very well done. What an opportunity for some of those children. There's a funny moment between Toto Wolff and a young reporter. He whispered something into the kid's ear, and then the child revealed unofficially that Lewis Hamilton will sign a 2-year extension with Mercedes. If this is, in fact, going to take place, I love that he allowed a child to announce it. Do we know? Can we confirm any of this, Laurence?
We don't know for certain. I think that kid knows more than the whole press room right now.
The kid got the scoop. The kid got the scoop over all of us.
We've been pressing Toto and Lewis in pretty much every media session. Well, maybe not us, but a lot of journalists do, trying to find out, the latest, where it's got to. They said basically that the negotiation bits are done. So there is a number of years down on a piece of paper. And apparently the money bit's done as well. So now it's really just about going to the lawyers and getting every little kind of bit ironed out. If Toto said it and the kid repeated it, I fully believe that it's a 2-year deal, and that would fit in with what we expect. I mean, I suspect if it is a 2-year deal, it might be 2 years plus an option of staying longer. But if that option's from both sides, it really is just whether you kind of initiate it and then whether, you go into longer contract talks from that point onwards. So, I mean, no reason to doubt that piece of brilliant journalism by the child.
I've got to say, it was funny having the kids around, and they were in the media center, in the media pen and the TV pen, and they actually got some quite good stuff through the weekend. But I've got to say, they're some of the most confident kids I think I've ever seen in my life. I was queuing for, I'm not sure what they were called. They were this breakfast wrap outside the media center with another journalist, and then Paul Smith, who's a friend of the podcast, PR at Red Bull, came over and said, "Oh, have you met?" And I can't remember her name for the life of me, but she was one of the Sky Sports kids for the UK, and was basically lecturing me about Formula One for about 3 minutes. It was like, "Do you know this about Formula One?" And I was kind of like, "Well, I don't want to say I do," but it was just like lecturing me about it. And I was like, "This is it," and then just went bye and just walked away. Just swiveled on their heels and walked away. I was amazed. So the next generation of F1 journalists look like a pretty confident bunch. But yeah, the graphics as well on the kids broadcast, I'm just going to put it out there. I prefer them to the adult broadcast. I want those going forward because they're much easier to read, just a lot more fun. But yeah, that looked like good work from F1. So props to them for doing all that.
Yeah, not only a great opportunity, but just a really cool thing that they would allow for, and alternate viewing, of course, to entice younger fans. If this was, in fact, brilliant journalism, as Lass has said, that would put Lewis and a Mercedes until 2025. Do we feel like Mercedes, Laurence, can fight for a championship before 2025? We did have that brilliant moment in qualifying where he felt like, could this be the start of something new for Mercedes that we haven't seen in the immediate past? But then, as we have all mentioned, it was very, very short-lived in the first turn on Sunday.
Yeah, so if you look at where they are this year, you think, it's going to take something very special over the winter to be challenging for a championship next year. And like we said so many times, Red Bull aren't going to stand still. We've seen how much they developed just with this upgrade they bought in Hungary. It's the last one they're doing this year because they've shifted their focus to next season already and making sure that car comes out the blocks in a similar kind of fashion. So Mercedes have really got it cut out. I mean, I do trust in where they are. And if you talk to people at the team, they believe that they've actually found now a solution that can bring them a huge amount of performance going forward. But of course, they said that to start with. There's no guarantees in Formula One. And again, this difference between what you get in the simulator and how easy it is for the drivers to drive is significant. And it's been very, very obvious at Mercedes that the drivers just have not been able to get the potential out of that car. They haven't been able to run it at the right height that the simulator and the wind tunnels say will give the maximum amount of performance. And so, yeah, they get in this tricky place. So I don't know. And then you've got to wonder, well, 2026 is a big regulation change, a new engine, which Mercedes are very confident about. Red Bull seem far less confident about. And then a new set of regulations, technical regulations as well, which could kind of mix things up a little bit. Probably be a similar kind of, basic format or basic way of creating downforce, but there's a few things like movable aerodynamics, which, you know, really could shake it up. So then you start to wonder, at what point does Mercedes look to 2026 like they did in the early 2010s when they looked to 2014, knowing that that was an engine regulation change and they could make a big step? And then you kind of get caught in between if you're someone like Lewis Hamilton coming towards the end of his career. I mean, I wouldn't like to put a number on how many years he's going to stay in F1 because I think he could probably go on into his mid-40s if he wanted to. But yeah, you've got to wonder whether if it is until the end of 2025, whether that's enough time to get a title, especially with 2026 looming and the potential there. But look, if he signs till 2025, if that's true, then there's no reason why he can't continue beyond that as well. I genuinely believe that, given the age he is now and how good he is and how we still, again, going back to that one qualifying lap, but again, you know, that ability to draw that performance out. We've seen with a number of drivers when they've got to the end of their career and it's fizzled out, they just haven't been able to do that special thing anymore. And then, you know, they can be very consistent, but if they don't have that extra edge, that's what really kind of, you know, brings an end to the career. But I'm thinking of maybe someone like Kimi Räikkönen, who, you know, back in his day was superb, you know, one of the fastest drivers in F1. But by the time he was second stint at Ferrari and then on to Alfa Romeo, no one was looking at him and saying, you know, he's the fastest guy on the grid. Whereas with Lewis, you still have that. So, yeah, I think if he stays at 25, I wouldn't put money on him winning a championship in that point, but he will know at that point as well, you know, what are the chances of happening in 26 and 27. And it's addictive, isn't it, like that? You know, if there's that little glimmer of hope, then, and Lewis still has that hunger within him, you could see him staying longer.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.